I'm Johna Herbinger with KBT Realty.
And I'm Alecia Walker with KBT Realty.
And today we are on Topsail Island, North Carolina. Topsail is a 26-mile long barrier island located south of Jacksonville and north of Wilmington. It's home to the town's Topsail Beach, Topsail Proper, North Topsail, and Surf City. The island has a casual, family-friendly atmosphere and has not been commercialized.
Topsail Island still has one of the most affordable beach home prices in the country. You can purchase oceanfront condos for about $100,000 and multi-million-dollar properties here as well. There are waterfront communities with access to the intracoastal waterway for boating, paddleboarding, and kayaking. It's all around a great place for anyone looking to live the coastal lifestyle.
The island has a small community of year-round residents and as well as about 61,000 visitors each year. Summer visitors come to enjoy all the island has to offer: pristine beaches, 3 fishing piers, world-class fishing, and some lucky visitors get to see a mama turtle nesting or even possibly a nest of hatchlings emerging from their nest.
There are great shops and restaurants and of course plenty of fresh seafood here. Topsail Island is steeped in history. John Morris is the president of the Topsail Island Historical Society, and he is going to fill us in on some of that history today.
Docent at the museum, this is the Art Museum. I also happen to be president of the Historical Society of Topsail Island right now. And this is good for me because I haven't had an opportunity to be a docent all year. So here's my shot at it. So this is a barrier island which is created from sand that starts way north of New York and slides down here. We're going along the littoral drift. These islands are dynamic. They're constantly changing and they're constantly drifting south. If you go to the north end of the island, you see what I'm talking about. For all the half miles built up here, the north of the island is struggling with loss every year. And some of those homes that were built on the north side are in deep trouble, if not already gone. But this island historically didn't have a name. It was just called a sand spit, especially prior to World War II. The Indians came here occasionally, although they don't record any permanent settlements. In the 1700s, pirates would use the new Topsail Inlet and the new Topsail Bay here for bringing their ships in, and they would wait for merchant ships, and they'd wanted to head to Virginia Beach, New York, and Philadelphia, and they would come out of New Topsail Inlet into Canada. And that's how New Topsail Inlet got the name of Topsail Island. Merchant leaving Wilmington, he's coming up, and he's on his way out to the Gulf Stream, which is about 60 miles offshore, so we can pick up the Gulf Stream. He's got to turn about a 3 to 4 knot current that goes north-northeast up along the coast, and it's a great asset to a sailor. If they saw a topsail on the square furrow behind the island, they could guess pretty accurately that it was a pirate getting ready to try to come out of New Topsail and intercept it. So that's how it got its name, Topsail Inlet and Topsail Sound. So in the 1700s, that was in the 18 and 1900s, very little activity here. This had no structure other than a few fishing shacks. It wasn't even a bridge to connect it. There at Sears Landing had probably a little ferry or something of that nature prior to World War II. The island was, during World War II, the island was taken over by the U.S. government, part of the Camp Davis program, and that little bit. And it was used for, Camp Davis was a March training camp War II, Camp Davis is shut down. The U.S. government still has this island in its control, and they've started a program to develop missiles. And the U.S. Navy during World War II figured out that guns on a ship weren't good enough to keep enemy aircraft far enough away. The ship itself, they needed something that could reach out 20 miles, 30 miles. They didn't have it. So they started a program called Operation Bumblebee. In January 1946, they established it, and they looked around for a place to do it. They started off in New Jersey, but New Jersey was too populated, too much traffic. They ended up in a different place called Keller. It didn't work. And then they realized they had this island under contracts, and it was remote. All it read was maybe 200 people. So it was fishermen, a few farmers. There was nothing here. And this island was deserted, so they took it over, and they built a missile testing program on this island. They built the assembly building. They built 9 towers, which you see when you go down in Surrey. There is the tower number 3 is the one right at the city line, the town line, Topsail and Surf City. That's tower number 3. We call that Bumblebee Tower. There are actually 8 remaining. There were 9. As you come into the assembly building, you see the control tower, which is that white square building. And tower number 1 is in the building on the south there. It's part of the residential building. It's pretty nice. Those towers have satellites on them, special equipment on them, and photographs on them so that they can determine, well, this rocket go where I wanted it to. They can track it 10 or 20 miles. So about 1948, after firing up 200 rockets, they determined that they'd run out of space here. They were expanding beyond the capabilities that Topsail could handle. So they broke the program down and sent a load of it to White Sands, New Mexico. And that was the guidance technology portion of it. They went to White Sands, and it became the Talos missile, which is out front. That missile for years was the basis for the anti-aircraft missiles on U.S. ships for 25 years. It all started right here. Now, the other half of the program, that was the rocket technology, the separation technology, and all that, that went to Cape Canaveral. It became the beginning of our space program. So what I'm really saying is, the beginning of our space program started right on this island. And it's kind of cool because not many people really know it. And until the late 70s or early 80s, Operation Bumblebee was still classified. We couldn't get the information on it. So, one of the things I have to say is the launch platform that they used, you went straight down the road right in front of the assembly building, right past the tower, right over the Jolly Roger Motel. Because the patio of the Jolly Roger Motel was the launch pad for the rockets. And there was also a bunker there that is now part of the basement of the Jolly Roger Motel. That was the bunker where they watched the rockets take off. And there are videos that we have available. I don't know whether we posted them online yet. But they got some wonderful Technicolor videos of them, maybe 5 or 10 minutes worth of video. They were actually firing rockets from the base. These guys for 2 years, what an assignment. You get down here in the sun and the sand, and you shoot rockets. This is fun. You know, 2 years of fun. But anyway, after 2 years they broke it up. And they built the assembly building, they built those towers, they built Breezeway Motel, I believe, was Eric's.
Side by side.
Okay.
That's where we got the name Breezeway. So, 2 different old they are
Yeah.
and then when they finally got taken over by civilians, people that bought it as is. One side was a bunkhouse, the other side they turned into a mess hall. So they would come down, people would fish, stay in the bunks, and they cook their fish on the other side. But since they were facing this way, the breeze always roared through there.
There you are.
Breezeway.
Lady Lane. Well, I knew the shrimp lady because when I first started coming down here, we bought our shrimp from her. She had a roadside truck stand right at the base of the bridge. We would always come down and buy shrimp from her. And once, and we always, wasn't been talking for a little while. And she was always lamenting the fact that she loved shrimp and corn. And we'd come down in late August, Carolina corn was gone. But I was coming down from Maryland. Maryland and Virginia corn was still available. So one summer we come down and we brought, I think, 5 dozen ears of corn with us. We got the shrimp lady. She said, all right, how about we barter? I said, give me a pound of shrimp for a dozen ears of corn. So I got 5 pounds of shrimp for 4 dozen ears of corn, and we were all happy. Topsail Island has its own treasure story. The side issue is when, remember the Disney movie Treasure Island and those other movies, they were all modeled after Carolina pirates and the barrier islands of North Carolina. Topsail Island is one of the premier barrier islands in North Carolina. So these movies we saw as kids and enjoyed were based on what a local experience. We had pirates here. God knows we had a half a dozen different pirates or some information on the pirates. Blackbeard, patrol these areas. I mean, the traffic from Wilmington to New York and Philadelphia and Boston and south was pretty extensive. And of course, it's a long time. When kids come to the museum, the first thing they want to know about is pirates. Him being 6 inches taller than anybody else, he scares the bejesus out of most people. And that often won the day. I'll tell you a little bit about Camp Davis. As I said, I told you about Camp Davis and its coastal balloons, the anti-aircraft, and the coastal artillery. Well, they also had a contingent of volunteer service pilots here, about 40. Wasps, and their role, if you know anything about World War II history, their role was to mostly ferry aircraft from the point of manufacture or repair to the point of embarkation, and often from embarkation to the repair spot. That's what they did mostly. There were about 1,000 of them that actually served. It's hard to believe that 20,000 applied, so only 1 in 20 became a pilot. But here, one of their primary roles was to tow the targets for the trainees on 90mm anti-aircraft guns. And I have to admit that that took a bit of courage to do in and of itself. We've got a couple of photographs and a couple of paintings showing them towing targets. And these are 18-year-olds. No prior training on a 90mm gun, firing away at a target that's going past them at 2 miles. vehicle, they sell the materials. Some of the material came over here to be part of Operation Bumper, but you all went away. And so when you get down that road, you can see the pine trees, and every once in a while you'll see a cut through the pine trees. That was a lane or a road that served barracks or something of that nature. So, what else I can touch base on?
Johna, what is all that over there?
That's the other side, it's a different axial banks channel. So South Topsail. About 3 miles this way, then we get to a place called Channel Bend because the channel bends. So it goes, we're on Banks Channel, and that bends back to the Intercoastal Waterway. So that is the bridge you come over. So there's a marsh island in between where those houses in the Intercoastal Waterway. And if you don't know about the Intercoastal Waterway, that's a water highway. When you go out to that body of water right now, you take a left. You can go all the way down to the Florida Keys without ever going into the ocean. You go out to that piece of water right there and take a right, you can go all the way up to New Jersey without ever going into the ocean.
I've done portions of it. Prefer to sail outside it though.
Yeah, of course. That's what they did it for inclement weather. And especially when you get up Diamond Shoals outside of Hatteras, 2 out of 3 times you're going to get it handed to you going around Diamond Shoals. So they built a lot of this intercoastal to kind of bypass these outer islands and bars outside of North Carolina, Flying Brand Shoals, Diamond Shoals. So in inclement weather, you can bump in one of these inlets, hit the intercoastal until the weather clears, then you pop back out and take the short, because the short distance, because really the East Coast looks like this. It's one big bay, there's Florida. So if you wanted to go Florida to Maine, of course the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. So right in Hatteras, where the Gulf Stream takes a right-hand turn, the Gulf Stream goes off and ends up in England and Ireland, right? And then the Labrador current comes down. So depending on what weather patterns they are, the Labrador currents can be pushing a little further south, or the Gulf Stream can be pushing a little further north. And where those two meet, usually there's a little bit of trouble if you're sailing. Guaranteed some trouble. And they don't call this section, this is the graveyard of the Atlantic, from the border of North Carolina down to the border of South Carolina. Because South Carolina has a mainland beach, which means Myrtle Beach, you can drive right to the beach. Virginia Beach, you can drive right to the beach, but every beach in North Carolina can get there 3 ways: bridge, ferry, or boat. Everything in North Carolina is a barrier island, no mainland beach. Here's the southernmost tower.
Yeah, that's tower number 1. Beautiful house, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a beautiful house.
And he's talking about Blackbeard. That's Blackbeard's flag flying right there. They say that might have really been what did it. He was a ladies' man. That's why he's got the mark.
Right, yes.
Right? He's got the skeleton with just a spear into a heart. They said that was his Achilles heel was the ladies.
I got asked questions early on that, well, were those World War II submarine observation towers? I said no, they weren't built during World War II. And 2, submarines didn't come close to the shore here generally because the water isn't real deep for a long ways out. And submarines don't like shallow water.
If you have to come to the shelf, it runs out of power. It slowly gets shallow out there about 100 miles, and then it drops off to deep water.
Yeah.
But they call it the continental shelf because instead of just, when you go up north to say Rhode Island, Maine, it's deep water all the way up to the coast. Here, about 100 miles out, it slowly starts getting shallower and shallower.
So that's why they weren't worried about submarines here. The assembly building, as I said, was built in 1946. And it has had some and until 1991, I believe.
Oh, Pelican. Honky tonk. Honky tonk, man.
It was a lot of
What do they
different
say?
things.
That's when beers were 50 cents, lights were free. Look, and then things have changed down here. So where this is called Bush and Farina, the town over hardware store here, Hitchcock's. But a lot of this stuff after Hurricane Fran, which was a big indicator, that was 1996. We lost a lot of homes. 4 houses were sitting right over there in that marsh. Didn't even know what to do with them. They floated over there intact. When the ocean and the sound meet during a storm, that's an inlet, right? It just broke through the whole island. There were 5 places up on the north end. And you can still see them now. If you travel up the north end, they washed the road out. They brought in girders to span that section where it washed out before. Because what happens with water has memory. And if it broke through there one time, there's a good possibility if you have a storm close to that size that it'll break through again. So they brought in bridge girders and put them there. So when you ride up the north end, if you see a guardrail and a girder in the road, that's where the inlet washed totally across, where the sound and the ocean met.
And oh, by the way, there is a boat on a trailer in the dune with the outboard now sticking out in the back end of it. It was buried there in '96. And you can still see the outboard.
I don't know if you picked it up, but when he was talking about it's topsail, right? People were like, why do you say topsail? And he explained it because it's a nautical term, right? It's not topsail, it's like forecastle, topsail. It's a topsail of the ship. So it helps people understand, even though it's spelled topsail, we say topsail.
If you haven't walked the bridge at sunset, you need to do that sometime because it can be really spectacular at the top of the bridge at sunset.
It'd be better if the
And that South Spring is on the other side down there. This is Coach Beach. That's what people like it. Topsail like Coach Beach. You got Bryson Beach, that's City Beach. You know what I mean?
That's what somebody recommended. You better try Topsail Beach. I said, I never heard of it. Like most beaches like that. You looked it up, they came down here one year, we looked at some down When we say beach, I'm thinking of Topsail.
You gotta like the beach for the beach. We always say we're running the risk of them loving us to death.
That's
That's
a
what
good
we're
point.
running the risk of. We don't mind them loving us. Right? We don't mind sharing. They're trying to love us to death, you know?
One of the things I recommend, if you have more interest in the history of this book here, which is called Echoes of Topsail, it was written by David Stallman. It is available at Topsail Trading, I believe, and it's also available